Hello, this is Deb Schick, leader of professional practice at Sherbrooke Community Center and administrator of Central Haven. I have been the lead on the Least Restraint Committee and been working with Marla Hine and Melinda Sweeney. So this is the procedure for pharmacological restraints. This is just a quick overview of the process. This will include a team approach to an assessment for the resident. Needs us all to be good detectives to try and figure out what's happening for our residents and elders. We need to listen to family and friends. We need to obtain an informed consent for pharmacological restraints. We'll talk more about that later. We need to listen to the CCAs who are supporting this person and start a PIECES assessment. This will include a BSO DOS where the residents' behavior, responses, life for 5 days will be assessed. This is shorter than the DOS. And I think it's better. It really pinpoints what's happening for the resident. We will also start a mental health assessment. We will ensure that complete the Columbia Suicide Risk Assessment and Safety Form if that's necessary, and complete the care plan for the resident. So I want to talk first about the consent for pharmacological restraints. This is an informed consent, so the family or the resident need to understand the potential side effects of the medication. The consent is on one side where they will sign and then it will go into the resident's chart. And the other side of the page has the potential side effects of the medication and the side effects of sedative hypnotics. We will be looking at describing to families what those alternatives to medication are. Environmental, physical, emotional, all of the potential things that could help someone if they are having altered responses. What will that look like? Explaining the process of reviewing the medication. This will happen monthly. And we would really like them to be involved in the process. And it really involves teaching both the staff and families. So the mental health history is the first part of I think it's 5 or 6 pages. And it will have an overview of the resident's prior mental health history, any psychiatric care that they've had. It also has a spot for reviewing of current antipsychotics and trying to figure out why they were started. If they were started in hospital, was that for a delirium and has that been resolved? Or is it for sleep, which is not effective? They just become very sedated. And we actually work 24 hours a day, so if someone is awake during the night, that's okay. We will also look at, do they fit the criteria for appropriate use of antipsychotics? And we don't have it on this particular document yet, but we will actually have a place for the consent so that we understand that the consent has been done with the family when we look at this first front page. This second page looks at the folks that have no diagnosis. So what is the goal of the medication? We really need to understand that. And what are the goals of the resident? To look at altered responses as a team and find solutions so that it will take us through that process as well. And it will also look at what are the possibilities for why is the altered response happening? And that is really looking at pain, which I talked about in the first session. The next page is the Untie the Spirit My Plan. And so this is the starting point to understand the resident, specifically their emotional needs to start with. It looks at the domains of well-being and loneliness, helplessness, and boredom. It looks at what gives their life meaning and purpose? How do they feel good about themselves? Where is their companionship? Are they truly feeling lonely, and how can we help them with that? So this is page 3 of the Untie the Spirit My Plan. And so it has a place to ensure that the PAC Slack or pain ad is being done, that the BSO DOS and the pieces assessment is being done. If they're struggling, if the resident is struggling with communicating an unmet need, what would those responses be? So this is a really good way for our folks to actually see what's happening for our residents. So staff can really look at this. So what are their physical and environmental needs? Is noise a factor for people? Sometimes it is that it's overwhelming and they need to be in a quieter space. Are they getting enough sleep? Do they need to be encouraged to lay down in the afternoon if that would help them? Do they like pets? Is there a pet or is there an animal that they would like to have? What are their social needs? So this is just a way to help us continue to do that assessment and figure out what's happening for our resident. So this is page 5 of 6. This is the monthly review that needs to occur. And this is as a result of the Ministry of Health, their program guidelines for long-term care. They have this requirement that every month, anyone who does not meet criteria for an antipsychotic, this monthly review happens. It needs to happen as a team. It needs to include the resident and family if they choose to be involved in it. And it has to have a review from the physician who is prescribing the medication. And so this is a way to capture those reviews in one place. And one of the things we really need to encourage our physicians to do is that when they write an order, to indicate why they're writing it, what is the hope of the medication, what is the indication for it, and the frequency and when will it be reviewed, so that we are getting that review happening in a timely fashion. This is the last page of the guide, and it is just at a glance. It's a way to just look at, you know, what is a pharmacological restraint? What does that mean? What would it look like if there was a pharmacological restraint? What if there is inappropriate use of an antipsychotic? What does that look like? What does the medication not work for? And that list is there. There is risks of pharmacological restraint, and it's always good to look back at those and understand what the impact is on the resident and on their daily life. So we have also created an algorithm for the appropriate use of antipsychotics. So this walks you through the use of the medication when the resident first moves in, or when you pick a resident that you'd like to look at, you can walk through this document. It identifies when the medication can be reviewed, or decreasing the dose, or discontinuation. Is the medication being used for sleep? Because those side effects can be significant. And then it talks about support for sleep, and then additional strategies that might be helpful as well. So this is a great algorithm. A lot of work went into it, and I think it's like the success. We had a resident at Central Haven. And I talk about Central Haven a lot because we have moved a lot of residents off of these medications in the last 18 months. And we had someone who called out all the time, every day. She yelled in the dining room. She had a number of medications, and she even had an injectable antipsychotic once a week. And so the nursing team decided they wanted to see if it would help to take her off the medication. And, they took her off of almost everything. I think she's just got one PRN left right now, which we're in the process of removing. And And I have not heard her yell since those medications were discontinued. And I would hear her every day. I'd hear her in the morning before she went out for the day, and then I'd hear her when she came back at the end of the day, and she would yell. And now I see her and she is engaged and looking around and seems much happier and no yelling. We have also created an algorithm to help manage an emergent situation. And this again walks you through the process, ensures that the order is needed for the pharmacological restraint, ensures the safety of those around the resident, uses the GPA principles, and uses an algorithm. We have also created 2 work standards that go with these last 2 slides. So if the algorithm is a bit too much for you, you can just walk through the work standards. We will be putting all of these into a binder along with resources for you to use and go through and understand, as well as the actual least restraint policy will also be included in there. Online in your communication folder, we will also have resources in there as well. So if you're more inclined to read something online, that's fine. We can put it there and have it in paper form for you. But having a couple of options, I think, is also really, really important. So I already talked about this, but each binder will have the BSO DOS and directions for use. The pain assessments will be there. The PISA forms and assessments will be there. So the forms, the assessments, I mean, like a CAM or a, there's a number of, there's a depression scale. There's quite a few. Anyway, we'll put them all there. There'll be resources that you'll be able to give to staff, families, and volunteers if they have questions. There's also a number of huddles that I know have been coming out or will be coming out. The last support I wanna really talk about is that we have a pharmacological restraint committee, and they are going to support 2 neighborhoods over the next few months to support the team and really look at pharmacological restraint use in those 2 neighborhoods. They're going to look at Kinsman Village North and in First Neighborhoods. And so Marla is going to work with First Neighborhoods and Melinda's going to work in Kinsman Village North. And they will come often for the first little while to start the work. But they will also be there for the monthly meetings that will support this work to continue. And then once First and Kinsman North feel like they have their feet under them, we'll move on to 2 more neighborhoods and start the work there. So that's the hope. And we have trialed all of these documents in both First and at Central Haven, but everything is always a work in progress. So if there is something that doesn't make sense to you, please come and talk to us. So Melinda, Marla, or I, we would love to talk to you and have your insight, your thoughts about this process. And I just want you all to remember that our goal is to create quality of life for our resident. And this is a significant issue in Canada. We're actually the second highest province. We have the second highest rate of all of the provinces in Saskatchewan for the use of inappropriate use of antipsychotics. So this is a problem we need to solve, and we need to provide quality of life to our residents. That's part of our mission, and we can do that by using this process. And I hope it's helpful to you, and just know that you're not alone. We are here to support you through this, and I appreciate all of your hard work on this. Thank you.